Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Daily Football Roundup proudly brings to you the best damn podcast in the world, the 12-ounce Curl Route Podcast. I am your host, Aaron Current. You can find me on Twitter or X at Aaron Current. My co-host Kyle can be found on there at DF Roundup, and my boy C-Flow is not on Twitter. What's going on, fellas? First and foremost, happy Thanksgiving Eve, and Corey, to you, happy Louisville Hate Week. It's L's down this time of year.
That's right.
In the season that keeps on giving, L's down is in our hearts forever. You know, how y'all doing, fellas?
All right, we're not going to bring up. I get it. You guys are both Kentucky fans, but remember, I'm a Buckeyes fan, so we're not going to bring up.
It's the game.
Oh yeah, we're going to bring up how Michigan's going to wax that ass.
Whoa, whoa. Just question for you guys: are you guys going to the game this weekend? No. Ohio State versus Michigan. Neither's Jim Harbaugh. We all got something in common.
He's on a trip to Chicago. I heard. I don't know.
He doesn't have to be there for them to beat the Buckeyes.
Before we get in too far into too much, Aaron, can you next week take your microphone and I'm going to try to demonstrate here if I can.
Turn that son bitch sideways.
Can you Bruce Buffer it and do it that way?
I hold my
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, let's get ready to rumble.
I can try that. I got some wires caught up here now, but I'll give that one a shot next week.
I think it would be pretty cool.
Well, whatever you just did to your mic, it's
I can't hear you
now. How we doing?
That's good. That's good.
My bad.
So, Kyle, do you want to gloat a little bit, or do you just want to get right into picks because you are on a tear, my friend?
I and before we even hopped on here, and Corey was a little late to the party, I said I'm probably gonna miss a few this week because I'm picking with my heart on a few of them, and we'll get into the ones that I'm picking with my heart with. But 9-3 the past 2 weeks, I'm no longer below 500. Aaron, you and I have you're trending in the wrong direction there, brother. So I finally feel what it feels like to be mediocre, and it feels great.
Who's in first? I can't remember.
It's a long season, Corey. The Bengals probably were feeling real great going into Thursday night football last week, and now look at them.
Well, I'm not going to rip my shoulder out, so I'm good to go.
Hey,
well, that's another thing. I think I've lost my son, boys. He asked me for a Joe Burrow jersey for Christmas. So
to be fair, let him enjoy some.
Yeah. I ordered it for him. Yeah, go right ahead. But he wanted the white one. He loves the all white uniforms that they wear.
It's pretty clean,
and they are a really cool uniform. So I can't hate on him too much. But I'm like, all right, kid, if that's the road you want to go down. His generation Bengals is a lot different than the one I grew up with. So, but we'll get right into it. From last week, the 12-ounce Curl Route Podcast, big spread of the week. The Las Vegas Raiders traveled to Miami. Myself and Corey picked Miami -12, and Kyle correctly chose Las Vegas +12. Fellas, I think Antonio Pierce may be for real. I think if they are smart, they will stick with him at head coach at this point. The last time they went on a roll under an interim head coach was Rich Bisaccia, and they let him walk right out the door. And I don't know. I don't think they'll do that this time. I think they'll stick with, they like the way it's going. They like that he was born a Raider, as he said. And I think it'll go forward that way. Miami finally beat a team over 500, but they did not cover. Corey, did you watch this game? And what were your thoughts?
I watched a little bit of it. I had somebody text me saying that Miami's on fraud alert. I actually think Las Vegas Raiders, they might actually be getting a little bit of their shit together. Their defense looks a lot better. We talked about Max Crosby, but they made some pretty decent plays. And I know Tyreek went out for a little bit, but it's Miami's best win in theory if we're going by stats. So I don't think Miami's fraud. And the Raiders might be able to do some weird stuff, going down the stretch. I don't know.
Yeah, that division's starting to spice up a little bit, huh?
Yeah, Denver's 2 games out.
Yeah,
yeah.
What do you think, Kyle? What do you think of this one?
So I said it last week in the podcast, is that Las Vegas didn't need to win this game for me to get this pick right. Right, it's my moniker, it's my saying. That's what people know me by, I guess. And I wanted to look up the Dolphins' schedule. Do we know what the Raiders? The Raiders were 5-5 going into that game. So if I have this right, the Dolphins still this season have not beat a winning team.
Well, a team at 500 or better is what
a team at yeah. I mean, winning is above 500. I would say, at being what 30, 33, 32 and 1. I would know what winning feels like, Aaron. But I was actually kind of scared on this one. It looked like there at the end of the game, the Dolphins were up by 7 and getting ready to go. And I don't know what happened. I was really eyes on the Packers game a lot of the time. But Las Vegas held tight. I mean, they were within 7 at the end of this game. It's really weird because I look at when I put all the stats together for the games and stuff like that, the Raiders' run offense is one of the worst in the league. And you have Josh Jacobs running the ball. I don't understand it. It makes zero sense. So, yeah, I am happy that I took Las Vegas plus 12. Like I said, 12 in the NFL is a big spread. So, yeah.
Miami's remaining schedule at Jets, at Commanders versus Titans versus Jets versus Cowboys, at Ravens versus Bills.
Oof, they got a rough stretch there toward going into the playoffs. Oh, well, I picked them to win the division. They're still winning ball games. That's what matters. We'll get into the nail biter of the week, which was the Seattle Seahawks traveling to the Los Angeles Rams. They lose this game 16-17. We all had Seattle -1. Corey, do you have anything to say on this one? Or
yes, I do. Seattle was up by I think 13 at one point. Seattle is officially frauds. They're officially frauds. There's no way they should have lost that game. There's no way. I know I said they win by 10, and at one time they were up by 13, but the Rams are not good, and Seattle, that's San Francisco's to lose at this point.
That division is just, it's like they beat up on each other, and it doesn't make sense all the time. I guess you play each other so much, you get to know your tendencies and stuff. Pete Carroll's a hell of a ball coach, but so is Sean McVay, and I know Kenneth Walker III went down in that game. He is actually doubtful for their game Thursday.
Tomorrow.
So, tomorrow.
Well,
so maybe that's part of the issue. I'm not sure. Kyle, what do you think of this one, man?
At kickoff, this one was +2 Seattle, I believe. We're picking these games early in the week. We're locking in on Thursday, and sometimes we're locking in with things that obviously could change. There's been times where we've made choices. I can remember picking a Monday night game where I thought Trevor Lawrence probably wasn't going to play. And he ended up having the most rushing yards in a single game in his career that game, and he had a brace on his knee. It just didn't make sense. So it's weird when we lock in on Thursday just to sometimes see these lines move. And I mean, Vegas was pretty much, they weren't right on this one. They were good come Thursday, but they moved it to +2 and obviously shifted with the market. But Seattle kept it within 1. So I got lucky that I locked in. I was telling Aaron before we went live, I did $1 on DraftKings on my 5 remaining picks for the week, and I locked in with Seattle +2, and I ended up turning that $1 on those 5 picks to $27. That's a win. So I got a little bit of play money. I'll probably lose it all this week on the Packers money line. But
there's a preview. Hey, there's a tease.
There's a tease. So yeah. but $1 to 27. It's time to have fun with that $27.
You
So.
take the wins you can get, man. You take the wins you can get.
Exactly.
As I said, I thought they were going to win by 10. I totally locked in a +2 on like 2 or 3 parlays, and they all hit. So I was mad at Seattle, but not that mad at Seattle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Put money in your pocket. Our next game, Thursday Night Football. Speaking of games we bet on, the Cincinnati Bengals traveled to Baltimore. We all picked Cincinnati +4, and Baltimore wins this game 34-20. Joe Burrow did go out in this game, and looks like he's out for the rest of the year, which really sucks for Cincinnati. You got Jake Browning coming in to take his place. It's not. It's tough for Cincy. For a team that had so much to look forward to. I did pick Baltimore to win this division. I think that kind of helps me with that, unfortunately for Cincinnati. But the big controversy out of this, Joe Burrow had a brace on that wrist when he got off the plane, yet he didn't have a questionable or any sort of injury designation going into the game. So it's almost like Cincinnati knew there was a possibility and didn't let anybody know about it. So they might be in some hot water over that. I don't know. Corey, what'd you think of this game? And give me your thoughts on Joe Shiesty.
When we had to pick this game, I didn't want to pick it. And I do think that if Joe didn't go down, I think Baltimore would still won the game, but it would have been closer. Baltimore is really good. Cincinnati's done with Jake Browning. It's just Joe Mixon's not been the best running back this year. There's still a little bit of health issues in the wide receiver core. I don't know what their schedule looks like the rest of the way, but unless they got some easy games or something, Cincinnati's it's the Browns and the Ravens, and that's it.
Yeah. What about you, Kyle? What'd you think of this one?
I'm on the opposite spectrum of Corey with that game. If Burrow doesn't go down, Cincinnati wins by 10 easily, I think. Lamar exited the game there briefly, and at that time I put one of those free bonus bets. I had a $50 bonus bet on Cincinnati money line, and they were down, I think, maybe 3 or 7 at the time. I'm not really sure how much they were down, but I think this one hurts, especially for Cincinnati fans. It hurts for me because I picked the Bengals to win the division. So there goes the Bengals, there goes the Jets, and there probably goes the Seahawks. I've only got 5 chances left. I was thinking the 49ers would kind of we'll get into all that. But I think Cincinnati would have not ran away, but they would have won probably by 10.
It was a heck of a game when he was playing. They were going back and forth at each other. The Ravens wore their best uniforms they have. The all black is so freaking sweet. Mark Andrews did go down in this game as well, so that could be Isaiah Likely, a guy they drafted a couple years back, who I've stashed on my dynasty league since then. Hopefully can do something, but that's a tough blow for that Ravens offense, who that's kind of their number one receiver, even with the addition of Odell Beckham and Zay Flowers, etc. But they may have found a pretty good running back too. That Mitchell guy, he's quick, man.
Well, not to mention Gus Bus is still he's got like 10, 12 touchdowns or whatever, and like 600 yards on 50. Or I can't remember what the numbers are exactly, but like he's touchdown vulture and everybody.
Yeah, goal line back, man. That's what the Gus Bus for sure. The next game, Sunday at 1:00, Pittsburgh at Cleveland. I had Pittsburgh +1. You both had Cleveland -1. Cleveland wins this game 13-10 in an absolute snooze fest. I had faith in Mike Tomlin against a rookie quarterback, and apparently I was incorrect on that. Matt Canada did get his walking papers after this game, and all of Pittsburgh cheered. I think I heard it from my living room. So Pittsburgh gets the loss, but they get rid of Matt Canada because of it. Fellas, I don't know if Kenny Pickett's that good. Like when they drafted him, I thought it was the right move. I thought he was the best quarterback that played at Heinz Field that year, because that was Big Ben at the end of his tenure. But I don't know if he's it. I don't know if it's all Matt Canada or if Kenny Pickett's really that bad, but I mean, there's backup quarterbacks that I would take over him at this point, and the way Pittsburgh is so loyal to their players and coaches, I don't know if they've got the balls to move on from him. Really, Corey, what'd you think of this one, man?
I think even though Steelers lost, they actually won the week by getting rid of Matt Canada finally after a year and a half, 2 years of just awful play calling. I want to see what they look like with whoever is going to call the offense now. The big story here is DTR. Didn't have the best game in the world, but he had that game-winning drive to get the field goal. Love it. I hate that people are crapping on him for crying. Like, man, that was a big spot, and I have no issues with him doing that at all. And I'm rooting for the kid. And real quick, this was the whole Deshaun Watson was finally getting good, kind of, sort of, whatever. But we've seen a bunch of other backups. Nothing really changed for Cleveland.
They're still winning games.
They're still winning games. This was not as big of a score, but Steelers have a great defense too. So I'm happy with Cleveland being my division winner at this point. Still.
Yeah. The thing about him crying, man, I don't get why football fans in general feel like they've just got to be these macho men. Like Caleb Williams has been torn down for the same thing when he lost and realized he wasn't going to have a shot at going to his playoff, or the Heisman was probably out on him, and all the things that he came into this season trying to accomplish, he watched it fall. And, he broke down to his mom, and a lot of people kind of ripped him for him. I know I heard a lot of Chicago, like especially Dan Hampton and Obranovich, they call him OB. I think it's Obranovich or something. They do a post-game show in Chicago, and there was a play where Justin Fields gets a first down and he does this little dance, and they ripped him for that. They were like, "Why are you out here dancing?" And I'm like, God forbid these players would be out here to have fun or have emotions.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like it's absolutely ridiculous that they expect them to be robots or something. I don't get it. Yeah, but good for DTR. He's a guy that I liked in the draft. I thought he was drafted a little high, but I'm thinking that's the Brock Purdy effect at this point. Players or teams trying to grab their quarterback and stash them. They'll grab them early. Kyle, what'd you think of this game, brother?
I don't know that that's necessarily. I think it's the reverse Brock Purdy effect. I think they saw what happened with Brock Purdy in the playoffs against the Eagles, and the 49ers realized they didn't have any quarterbacks to play, and now teams are scrambling to get 3 or 4 on their roster. Yeah, I mean, look at all the quarterbacks that are getting hurt this year. We've got a guy named Tommy DeVito starting in New York.
Hey, don't diss the DeVito.
I'm not dissing the DeVito, but I mean, like, there's some of these guys, you turn it on and you're like, who's this? Who's Jake Browning?
Yeah.
Jake Browning because it was on the Packers practice squad. But other than that, I don't know who the hell Jake Browning is.
Yeah.
He's been in the league, I think, just as long as Joe Burrow. Nobody's ever seen him play. Same thing with DeVito. We're seeing these guys play. And
Tyson Bagent, a D2 rookie, gets 4 starts.
Yeah.
More people know who his dad is than him. Like,
yeah.
Browns are adding Joe Flacco now to their practice squad.
That's interesting.
I think what they're hoping with Flacco is that he's ready to start by the playoffs, and he turns into playoff Joe. And he makes himself, after the playoffs, a 7-year, $245 million quarterback again. Cleveland has a really good defense. And I think Myles Garrett, while he won't win it, I think that he should be in consideration for MVP. He's leading this defense. He's the quarterback of that defense. This, to me, I don't foresee Cleveland, if they're going to play musical chairs at quarterback between, and we'll get into what their stats look like, because I think they are on our true 6-pack challenge this week. So we'll get into what their offensive and defensive stats look like. You're going to get one of Kyle's nuggets. But that's Baltimore's division at this point. You got a bunch of backup quarterbacks, and yes, Kenny Pickett, I'm calling you a backup quarterback. But you got a bunch of backup quarterbacks playing, and you got Lamar Jackson. The Ravens would have to shoot themselves in the foot to lose that division.
Yeah, I thought it was crazy that when I saw Joe Flacco signed to Cleveland's practice squad, I mean, the Jets do they just have no interest? Or, I mean, he knows their offense. He was there last year. They didn't even give the guy a call. I don't know what that was about. But we'll move on. The next pick was Sunday Night Football, Minnesota at Denver. We all picked Minnesota +2, and Denver wins by 1 point. This game was insane. Bobby Dobbs did not get the dub. He takes his first loss as a Viking, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And Denver, fellas, they're on a tear. They won 4 straight. Minnesota came into this game winning 5 straight, and it's not against nobodies. Remember, this is a team that beat the Chiefs, so it's not like Denver's just beating up on the Giants and the Jets and the bad teams of the world. I don't know if Denver's back, but my boy Mike Kyle, my boy MVP, Kyle, you know him. He gave me a text this week, and he asked me if Denver was back, and I was like, man, it sure looks like it, but it's so hard to buy into a team that's gave up 70 points in a game this season. But the turnaround for this, shout out to Sean Payton, man. He came in, he took over a disaster. They went 1-5, and the whole league was laughing at him. And the next thing you know, he's got Russ out there doing Russ things, but it's the defense, man. The defense is playing lights freaking out, and they are shutting teams down. Look out for Denver. I think they got another matchup with KC, and like you said, Corey, this team's 2 games away in the division. What'd you think of this one, Corey?
It was a heartbreak for Minnesota. I was chasing this game with my Minnesota buddy in Ohio the entire time. I felt bad for Minnesota. I think they can still. I think they're going to make the playoffs, but Denver, I'm still not going to believe it until. I probably still won't believe it. I just won't. Like after seeing what they did the first 3
weeks, in the playoffs, you're like,
yeah,
no way.
Like no, this is like the 7-9 team 3 years ago or whatever, the Saints or whoever it was. But like, I mean, the defense this defense has good players. They were the problem at the beginning of the year, in my opinion. Russ, I hate to say it because I'm not a fan of Russ Wilson. He is playing better and better and better. Judy's actually catching the ball. Everybody's catching the ball. And we'll see. I mean, they still have a good shot to make the playoffs. Denver does. In theory, they still have a shot at this division. So I'll believe it when I see it. If they're sitting in the Super Bowl at fourth quarter up 3, I'm gonna be like, all right.
No, Corey's still gonna be fading them. He's betting them live. Kyle, what'd you think of this one, brother?
So when we talk about Sean Payton kind of turning around the Broncos halfway through the season, and I had to just quickly Google it, but there was a 2022 film released around Sean Payton called Home Team, and it starred Kevin James. And he was suspended from the Saints, went back to Texas and started coaching his 12-year-old son's middle school team or something like that. And I don't remember if in that movie, and I guess it's based on a true story, I don't know if that team started out real rocky and then they turned it around midseason and started winning, but that's kind of like what this is. This is like one of those movies where you got the old disgruntled coach who, got run out of town and now he's got to win over this new fan base and stuff like that. And I didn't think that Denver was going to beat Kansas City, and I was like, oh, that's a fluke. Patrick Mahomes was sick, and the Chiefs aren't even that great anyway. And then the next week they beat Buffalo, and I was like, oh, what another fluke. Like they're not great. And now they've beaten Minnesota, and it's like, Jeezy Pete's, man. Like this team might actually be legitimate. And I don't know. I mean, I think that it's going to be a tight race for that 6 and 7 seed in the AFC. It will for sure. And I'm getting made fun of by Corey for saying Jeezy Pete's, I think.
Well, how old are you?
Gosh dang.
Gosh. Man, me oh my, Corey.
God, move it.
But I don't know. I still don't know if I'm buying into the Broncos yet. Like Corey said, they could win out and make the playoffs. I'd still probably be like, oh, Ravens are going to smack them in the playoffs, or oh, they're going to lose to the Jets in the playoffs. But
the Jets,
playoffs. You want to talk about the playoffs?
Speaking of former Packers, Tim Boyle, I think, is getting the start this week for the.
What I read is he's getting the start, and Trevor Siemian is being brought up from the practice squad to be the backup quarterback. So Zach Wilson isn't even number 2 this week. GZ Pete's. GZ Pete's. That's going to be my new thing.
That sounds like a Southern titty bar.
Mm.
Oh, who the hell's
We might
Jersey
have a
Pete?
solid business idea.
There you go.
All right, let's move on to the final pick of the six-pack challenge. Monday Night Football. The Philadelphia Eagles travel to Kansas City. They win this game 21-17. We all had Philly plus 2.5. And I believe one of us said I would take Philly money line. I can't remember whom, but I mean, Philly was down 10 in this game and come back. They come storming back. MVS had a chance to catch a game winner and he dropped it, and he was highly upset with himself. But I think the game was great. I think it lived up to the hype. I think both teams played the best they could in the weather that they were playing in. But Kyle, what do you think of this Monday night matchup?
Yeah, so Sunday night I put a parlay together. Corey's having some technical difficulties. He'll be right. He'll be right back after these messages.
At least he didn't
Sunday
say
night,
Jeezy Pete's.
yeah, Corey, this is a family friendly show, man. I put together a parlay Sunday night of the Vikings money line and the Eagles money line because both of them were plus 2.5, and I also took each of them individually as well. And I want to say at halftime, so at halftime I took the live spread, and I think it was the Eagles plus 7.5.
Wow.
That ended up cashing as well, obviously, because they won. But to me, Kansas City, I mean, look at the drops, man. I mean, they just can't get anybody to hang on that dang ball. And it Jeezy Pete's, man. Everybody's just dropping the ball. And it started week 1. And that should have been a glimpse into their future or foreshadowing that they might need to go out and get a few better wide receivers because the ones they have aren't really doing that much.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. They gave Patrick Mahomes a quote unquote hometown discount, or Patrick gave them a quote unquote hometown discount so that they could spread that money throughout the roster, so that they could possibly bring in a top wide receiver or some help on defense. And they're trying to build it through the draft, which makes sense if it works out. But when it doesn't work out, and you got Rashee Rice, and you got Kadarius Toney doing what he's always done, then you end up with a situation that Kansas City's in, and it doesn't look so pretty, especially for a team. I mean, let's be honest, the Chiefs fans, where they have Mahomes under center, the best quarterback in the league, it's Super Bowl or bust for those fans. They're going to be let down unless they're hanging a banner and holding up the Lombardi trophy at the end of the year. And honestly, what I've seen out of Kansas City this year, I don't see it happening. That they get bullied at the line of scrimmage, and that's how Philly wins games. That's how they've done it all year. That's why I've rode with Philly so many times, because they just bully you. They just beat you up all game long. Jalen Carter tried to intercept the daggone spike.
He almost had it too.
He
almost had it.
We're gonna see that a lot more. Where that spike might start happening out of the shotgun formation. To be honest, we might see that out of shotgun here soon.
Yeah, lose 3 or 4 yards. I mean, maybe
you
like
don't lose anything because
maybe a pistol more than
you don't lose anything on a spike. It's an incomplete pass. So
that's true. Never mind. I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
Corey, what did you think of the Monday night game? Don't shake your head at me, Kyle.
Jeezy Pete's, Aaron.
For me, it's everybody had Kansas City as number 1 in the AFC, and I don't think they were. I haven't thought they were. Maybe top 3 or 4, and the defense has gotten better. Yes, excuse me. But and Rashee Rice, I think, is going to be a stud. But when I seen this Philly plus 2.5, and I ended up locking it at plus 3 in a couple other places too, it's free money. I thought this was free money. Yeah. And I know it's hard to win at Arrowhead when it's cold and everything, but Philly's just that good. And
I mean, they always say that about Kansas City winning at Arrowhead, but let's think this year about the big Kansas City losses.
both at
Opening
Arrowhead.
night, opening night, Detroit goes into Arrowhead and beats the Kansas City Chiefs. Then Philly goes in there and beats the Kansas City Chiefs at night. I just yeah, the fans are still rowdy and everything, but I don't know. It's hard for me to wrap my brain around Kansas City not and Corey, you were so early on this. You called their downfall last year on our podcast.
Yeah, I had Denver. I mixed up my years. I had Denver win it last year.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
No, I think it's for. Go ahead.
What I'll tell you, what Kansas City looks like this year is what I've been going through the past 5 years with the Green Bay Packers. They have that one stud guy that can catch the ball, and the rest are just guys. Hey, let's throw this guy out there because we have an MVP quarterback. He's gonna elevate these players. You can't do that. You gotta. I mean, the Eagles have Devonta Smith. They have AJ Brown.
AJ.
And now they have Julio Jones, which I mean, Julio's not really involved too much, but they're going out and getting guys. They're trying to get better instead of saying, "Hey, we paid our quarterback. Let's go get you, this 6th round pick who we think you can help get up to speed." You gotta get them some talent at the wide receiver position.
Yeah,
I do think that they might go out and maybe shop for one this year, but I really do think Rashee Rice is going to be good. As far as the ones they've drafted and stuff, in my opinion, Rashee Rice is the best. We've talked about him at the beginning of the year. Mm-hmm. This is one of the best ones that by far they've given Mahomes, in my opinion.
Yeah, I liked him a lot. And this draft class is looking pretty good at the wide receiver position.
Yes, it is.
I'm hoping Marvin Harrison Jr. is a Chicago Bear. But, I mean, there's a lot of other good. The guy in Washington's really good. The guy in Florida State. But this isn't a draft podcast. So we'll just move on. We have a special for you guys tonight. The 12-ounce Curl Route Thanksgiving Feast. You show up to Thanksgiving, you're feeling a little hungry, but you're not. The turkey's in the oven, but it ain't done yet. So what do? You grab some deviled eggs. So our deviled eggs this week is Green Bay at Detroit at 1 p.m., I believe. The Detroit is 12:30. So you grab a deviled egg at 12:30. Hold you off until the turkey's done. Detroit is -7.5 at home. The over/under is 47. The money line for Green Bay is +285. The money line for Detroit is -360. I just looked it up. Detroit beat Green Bay at Green Bay 34-20. I think Detroit wins this game, and I think they cover handsomely. Sorry, Kyle. Kyle, go ahead. Tell me what you think of this game. You kind of teased me a little earlier.
When I get deviled eggs before I go and eat, and I'm not going to really go, obviously can't go into depth too much. I don't like to just get one. I like to get one. I like to get two. I like to get three. Three sounds like a really good number of touchdown passes that Jordan Love's going to throw tomorrow. Now, the Packers do not have to win this game for me to get this pick right, but I'm taking my beloved Green Bay Packers. Jeezy Pete's, I love them to death, but I'm taking them +7.5.
All right. First of all, there is a line that has to be drawn in people v. deviled eggs ratio. You can't be the guy that just comes in here and hammers down on 3 of them before anybody else has gotten one. First of all,
survival of the fittest, Corey.
Second of all, as much as I love Detroit this year, I mean, I love everything about them. Lately, I think some of the games are keeping a little bit too close. And like I said, like he always says, Green Bay doesn't have to win in order to cover. So I'm actually going to take, because it was 7.5. If it had been 7, different story. I'm taking Green Bay plus 7.5, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope Detroit spanks about 3 touchdowns.
Packers lose by a touchdown.
See, I was thinking going into this about taking Green Bay +7.5, but then I looked at their old score from earlier this year, and I was like, man, have they closed the gap that much? We'll find out tomorrow during the day.
Yes, we will.
It's a quick turnaround for both teams. So, I mean, what goes better with turkey than some mashed potatoes and gravy? Our mashed potatoes and gravy for the 12-ounce Curl Route podcast Thanksgiving feast is Washington at Dallas. Dallas -11. Over-under is 49. Money line for Washington is plus 455. For Dallas is minus 625. I'm taking Dallas. I'm pounding Dallas. What does Dallas do all year? They take these bad teams and they shellac them. And I think that continues tomorrow, right here on Thanksgiving. I might even be asleep a little bit with a turkey hangover while this game's going on. But I am glad to see Dallas and Washington playing on Thanksgiving again because it brings back nostalgic childhood memories of the Cowboys and Indians. They're no longer the Indians, but we already know it's the Commanders. But Kyle, tell me about this game, man. How you liking your mashed potatoes with a little bit of gravy on top?
You got it wrong. When I eat my mashed potatoes, I drown it in gravy. I put that stuff on the stuffing. I put that stuff on my turkey. I put it all over the place. And guess what the Dallas Cowboys are going to do to the Commanders tomorrow? They're going to drown them. They're going to beat them by multiple scores. And I'm riding with Dallas minus 11 as well.
Aaron's going to Pound Town on Dallas.
Tell me what you got on this one, Corey.
I'm also going to Pound Town on Dallas. To me, I think Cowboys defense has more points than Washington.
Yeah, I'd stay away from the over/under just because of Dallas's defense.
Like I'm going to need a nap. I'm going to need a nap tomorrow because my lunch would be done around 2:33 or whatever. So this is prime real estate right here. Already put in the bets yesterday or today. Good to go. Just wake up every once in a while and see what's going on. I think Dallas just hammers them.
Yeah. And we finish this all off with a Sunday night feast, the turkey of the day. San Francisco at Seattle. Seattle is a 7-point home underdog. The over-under is 43. The money line for San Fran is minus 290. For Seattle is plus 235. I'll be honest, guys, when I set this thing up, I was like, I'm picking Seattle plus 7. But today I saw the news Geno Smith is questionable and K9 is doubtful. So give me San Fran minus 7 at Seattle. I know it's hard to play there with the 12th man, but I just really believe in San Fran. And Brock Purdy has turned up the heat in the last couple of weeks. Kyle, tell me what you got on this one.
So I told you earlier, and I foreshadowed a little bit. I said I'm going to be picking with my heart this week a little bit, and I picked Seattle to win this division. At the end of the night, tomorrow night, it's going to be Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey eating turkey legs on prime time because they're going to absolutely hammer the Seahawks. Geno Smith, Kenneth Walker, regardless you have them or not, San Fran's winning by 10 with or without those guys. So. I teased you there a little bit, but I'm on San Francisco minus 7.
You're always throwing me curveballs. Corey, tell me what you got on this one, brother.
Seattle made me so mad last week that I not only am I taking the 49ers, I did all kinds of different player parlays and everything with this. I know it is hard to win at Seattle. 49ers, we're just going to pretend that they didn't lose those 3 games. I don't know what happened there, but the 49ers are good. So I think they win by at least 10.
All right, we got one final game in our Thanksgiving feast. You wake up the day after Thanksgiving, you got a little bit of leftovers, but you really got a hankering for something sweet. So you grab some pumpkin pie and you throw a little bit of Cool Whip on it. So to finish off our Thanksgiving feast, we got on Black Friday on Prime Video. If you don't have Prime Video, ask your wife what your Prime login is and you'll get on it. I promise you she has it. You got Miami at the New York Jets. The Jets are 10-point home underdogs. The over-under is 41. The money line for Miami is minus 520. For the Jets is plus 390. And as we said earlier, Tim Boyle is starting this game for the New York Jets with Trevor Siemian backing him up. I do like Trevor Siemian a little bit, but I know they let me down last week, but give me Miami minus 10. I think they bounce back, and I think they just beat up on this Jets team. I have the Jets defense in my fantasy league, and I've already benched them in all of them because I just don't trust them to go up against this juggernaut of Miami. Kyle, tell me about this one, brother.
If there's anything that I love, whether it's on Thanksgiving or any other time, it's sweets. And you can ask my wife because I will continuously go back for more and more and more. And I think on Friday that the Miami Dolphins are going to continuously find the end zone more and more and more. I don't think 10 points is enough. The Jets, unless Tim Boyle is fucking Superman, they don't have a shot at all.
He's
So
doing what to Superman?
I'm taking the Dolphins minus 10.
Corey, tell me what you got on this one. Jesus.
So I have the Jets defense in a lot of my leagues. I instead picked up the Miami Dolphins defense this week in a lot of leagues because sometimes we do see brand new quarterbacks come in and they have magic because nobody's seen them before or whatever like this. I don't think this is the case. I think, like y'all said, Miami rebounds and they win this game by 2 tutty.
Well, we made it through the Thanksgiving feast, fellas, and I really like that segment. We should. I feel
we can do
good
a Christmas
about all
one.
those
Christmas
picks.
feast. We'll do one of those.
I was already talking to Aaron, Corey, and I said I think Santa's going to be real good to the 12-ounce Curl Out podcast because I think he's bringing us 16 presents that week, and we're going to unwrap all those games.
Nice.
That's going to be a real chance for Aaron to probably catch up late in the season.
Well, I need it, man. I've been struggling the last couple of weeks, but I feel good about all 4 of those picks. I feel really good about them. So we'll get into the normal 12-ounce Curl Route podcast 6-pack challenge. Crack you a cold one and sit down with Uncle Aaron.
That diet freedom right there.
That's right. Diet freedom. The 12-ounce Curl Route podcast, big spread of the week. The actual big spread would have been Dallas, but we had to set that aside for this challenge. So it is Sunday at 4:25. So I don't know if this is going to be the national game of the week. They like to put Kansas City in that spot a lot. It's Kansas City at Las Vegas. Vegas is a plus 8.5 home underdog. The over-under is 43.5. The money line is Kansas City minus 380 for Vegas. It's plus 300. And I learned my lesson from last week. Give me Las Vegas to cover the 8.5 point spread. The Fighting Antonio Pierces to go into Arrowhead. I don't think they win, but I think they keep it awfully close. Corey, tell me what you're feeling on this one, brother.
I'm with you 100% on this. They're going back to – are they at the Roomba this week? I'm sorry. I missed that part.
They are at
in Vegas. All right. So they're at the big Roomba. This will be probably the primetime game since Dallas is playing Thursday, obviously. What we've seen Philly do to Kansas City and what we've seen Vegas do to Miami, I think Vegas keeps this really, really close. Kansas squeaks out the win. Vegas doesn't have to win for me to get this. So I'm taking Las Vegas at the Roomba.
Wow. You got any nuggets for us on this one, brother?
I have quite a few nuggets, and I like that you guys are riding with the Raiders like I did last week. Raiders offense, not good. They rank 23rd or worse in all statistical categories. That's passing, rushing, total yards per game, and points per game. They do rank first. In giveaways with 21 on the season. That's not good. That is not good. Their defense, they are not good against the run. They are not great as a defense. They are a top 12 defense against the pass, and they have 14 takeaways. Their turnover differential this year is -7, putting them at 31st on the season. Kansas City is top 15 in all offensive categories that I look at as passing yards, rushing, total yards per game, points per game, and unfortunately giveaways. They have 19 on the year. They're 4th. That's not good. Defensively, they are, I would say, a top 10 defense on the year. Turnover differential -5. Now, last week I rolled with the Vegas Raiders plus 12. I said, look, I don't have to win this game to get this right. I got to win this week, because I'm riding with Kansas City minus 8.5. I think Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey come out pretty upset. And if you saw the video I posted Monday night with Marquez Valdez slamming his helmet against the wall and stuff like that, I think that this team is mad. And unfortunately for the Raiders, they're going to get it taken out on them. And look for the Chiefs to rebound this week.
Oh, that could be true. That could be true. Thanks for the nuggets. We'll move on to our nail biter of the week. Sunday at 1 p.m. Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. Cincinnati is a 1-point home underdog. The over-under is 34. The money line for Pittsburgh is -115. for Cincinnati is minus 105. Fellas, I should have learned last week probably by siding with Pittsburgh -1. But you know what? I'm going back to the well, and I'm going to see if getting rid of Matt Canada helps me out a little bit. And I just don't trust Jake Browning. I mean, I've got Jamar Chase in a lot of my leagues, and I'm starting to worry about that now. But I just can't trust Cincinnati, especially without Joe Shiesty suiting up for him. Kyle, I'm going to pass to you to give us some nuggets, and then I'll let Corey pick after that.
Let me take a minute, since it is in the NFL, it is Salute to Service month. But let's talk about not the Steelers' new offensive coordinator, because they've divvied up these two jobs, but the Steelers' new offensive play caller. And when I say new, it's 56-year-old Mike Sullivan, who's the quarterback's coach. 1989. This guy was a 2-year Letterman football defensive back. Graduated from the U.S. Military Academy in West Point in 1989. He was commissioned as an infantry officer, upon graduation, later attending the Army Airborne, Ranger, and Air Assault schools before serving in the 25th Infantry Division, which means this guy probably doesn't mess around too much.
Certified badass is what you're saying.
Certified B-A-Jeezy Pete's. Both of these offenses suck. Both of these defenses on paper suck. However, turnover differential-wise, Pittsburgh does not give the ball up, and they take it away. Cincinnati, with Joe Burrow, did not give the ball up, and they took it away. I look at Jake Browning. I know he's not a rookie, but I have to look at him like he's a rookie quarterback. And his first NFL start comes against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
TJ Watt screaming off the edge.
The Steelers have just gotten to eat this year, because I believe they also got Clayton Tune in his first NFL start. They got Dorian Thompson-Robinson in his second NFL start. And now they get Jake Browning in his first NFL start. I think that's 3. Well, they had Jordan Love in between, and he's in his first season. So I'm riding Pittsburgh -1. I don't know. I think Cincinnati would be hard-pressed to win 3 more games this year.
It's going to be hard to see if what goes on in Cincinnati in that locker room and with that coaching staff if it all falls apart. Corey, what do you got on this one, man?
Real quick, that certified badass, you said he played defensive back and he's the quarterback's coach?
I think he played defensive. Yes, he was a defensive back, but he's been an offensive coach his whole pretty much career.
Jack of all trades, sounds like then.
I mean, you see that a lot. Bobby Slowick, who's the offensive coordinator with your beloved Houston Texans, he was a defensive assistant on the Washington Commanders and in the 49ers before he moved to the offensive side of the ball. And I mean, you gotta learn it all.
Fair enough. I don't think Cincinnati was talented enough to beat Baltimore by 10, like Kyle said they were going to do if Joe Burrow didn't get hurt. But when I seen this was -1, this is still in money at this point. I don't think Cincinnati scores 10 points, if that. I hate it for Jake Browning to see that come across. And this might be like a new life for Kenny Pickett and all them. Who knows? Matt Canada's been bringing them down for the entire since he's been there. So I'm taking Pittsburgh by how much you want to give me at this point.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that Antoine Randall L would be better as a quarterback for the Steelers right now than Kenny Pickett? Because Randall L did play quarterback in college.
He actually had some legit stats too when they did trick plays.
Exactly.
No, I don't. I mean, I've seen Kenny Pickett do some things. I don't think he's the worst starter in the league by far.
Because a lot of other players are injured, but
even before that, I think Kenny Pickett. I honestly do think, and we'll see in the next couple of weeks. I think it was Mac. Yes, the fact that the way he runs Najee Harris and shit, like it wasn't good. Yeah. And then he does these stupid passes. We've seen it a little bit. It's Matt Canada. It's just Matt Canada. I think this is like Herbert all over again, where everybody's like, "Well, Herbert's just kind of like no." None of that's Herbert's fault in LA. It's just not like.
Well, we'll get to see Herbert next year with a new coach.
Yes,
hopefully.
Yes. But
Nah.
no, let's give this setup with Kenny Pickett a couple more weeks with that defense, and I mean they're still technically in the running for that division as well. So
Yeah,
who knows?
yeah. Yeah, speaking of division matchups and crazy close divisions, Sunday at 1 o'clock, the Jacksonville Jaguars travel down to your beloved Houston Texans home, Corey. And Houston is a 1.5 home underdog. The over/under is 48.5. Money line for Jacksonville is -120. For Houston is +100. I'm taking Houston plus 1.5. I would take Houston money line. I don't know how this is set up the way that it is. Yes, Jacksonville looked good again last week, but the last time these two teams met, Houston bullied them. They beat them down. They won that game 34-17, and it didn't even look that close. They hit them and hit them and hit them again. Kyle, what do you got on this game, brother?
So the number one passing offense in the league this year, if you want to take a guess at who it is per game on a per game basis, you guys want to guess on which team that is?
Texans.
No, it's Miami.
Oh shit!
The Texans are number 2 though,
Oh,
which
wow.
they have a rookie quarterback and they're number 2 in passing in the league.
Yeah.
They have a rookie wide receiver in Tank Dell. They have, and I'm not going to call Noah Brown a nobody because he's not, but they have a nobody wide receiver in Noah Brown who was just an afterthought in Dallas last year. They have
And they have a
Robert
rookie
Woods.
head coach.
They have a defensive rookie head coach.
Yeah.
They have Robert Woods who is on his, I think, 3rd team in 3 years or 4th team in 4 years or something.
Yeah.
And then they've got Nico Collins who had a good rapport with Davis Mills the past 2 years because they got drafted the same year. And Devin Singletary he's found life in this Houston Texans offense. Trevor Lawrence looked really good last week. Trevor Lawrence looked like the quarterback I thought he was going to be when I drafted him in my fantasy football league, and he threw for 2 touchdowns and ran for 2 more. But statistically, the Houston Texans are a better team. The record doesn't show that, but better at passing yards per game, better at total yards, better at points per game, less giveaways. Defensively, they give up less passing yards. They give up a little bit more rushing. They're 19th in total yards per game allowed. Jacksonville's 20th, and they've got 14 takeaways. But Jacksonville's defense has 20 takeaways. Now, Houston played Arizona this past week, and CJ Stroud had 3 interceptions. So he threw an interception finally, and then against Cincinnati, I think he had 2, and now he's had 3 against Arizona. He's looking like a rookie quarterback. He's got to reel that in. He's got to be smart with his decisions. He's got to be smart with his throws. He cannot throw multiple interceptions against Jacksonville and expect to win this game. That cannot happen. They've got to protect the ball. They're 1.5, and they beat Jacksonville by 20 last time they played in Jacksonville.
Yeah,
they're getting 1.5 at home. They're the underdogs in their own house. I've got to roll. I mean, even with that being said, I've got to roll with Houston plus 1.5.
Don't forget Dameon Pierce, who's been hurt, but he's still good. Now I know Devin's kind of taking over that, and Dalton Schultz is kind of a top 5 tight end too.
Yeah.
So you are going to kill me on this. I'm going to do the reverse psychology because the last time that I went against Houston, they won a big game. If Houston wins this game, they have 2 head-to-heads over Jacksonville, and they're tied. So they wouldn't, in theory, be up 2 games and in the lead in this division. However, I have a lot of futures on Jacksonville, and I really, truly do believe that Jacksonville has turned the page, and we've finally seen what Ridley can do. We finally see what he could do again, all of a sudden. Etienne is still kind of slow after the pass coming out of the bye, but I think Josh Allen, that defense, has gotten a little bit better as well. I'm actually going to take Jacksonville minus 1.5 against the Texans.
Gotta take that hat off.
And it's only because I'm trying to do reverse psychology.
As much as I love Josh Allen, beloved Kentucky Wildcat, Josh Allen, I just think they bully the Jacksonville defensive line. And also, before we move on from Houston, the red helmets that they pulled out last week were freaking sweet, dude.
And I'm still a hardcore Stroud boy, but I'm just Reverse psychology. That's what I'm doing.
I would tell you, I wouldn't be surprised if there's 550, 600 passing yards in this game on Sunday.
Oh, and I think this over is going to be blown out. Just fucking mangled. Yeah.
48 and a half. That's big. The next game in our six-pack challenge, Sunday at 1 o'clock. One of us is at this game. Carolina at Tennessee. Tennessee's a 3.5-point home favorite. The over-under is 36.5. Money line for Carolina is plus 150. For Tennessee is minus 180. Kyle, I know you're going to the game. Give me a little bit on this game, and then I'm going to finish this one up.
Look at him.
This is one of those games that I told you I'm picking with my heart. I'm taking Keegan to, use his government name. I'm taking the Crusher to his second NFL game ever in his life. His second NFL stadium he's been to. And hopefully in this instance, the time that he goes this game, the running back doesn't have 5 total touchdowns. It's possible that Derrick Henry could score 5 times on Carolina. Because Joe Mixon did it last year against the Panthers. Both of these teams on offense and on defense pretty much suck. Carolina is a better defense against the pass, and they don't let up. I mean, they're top 6 in total yards allowed, but I feel like my hat's all busted and crooked.
It was a little cockeyed. But
yeah, let me just go ahead and put it back this way. But they get run over so much. They're allowing 130 yards rushing each game. Derrick Henry has a chance to absolutely feast in this one. But I'll tell you one guy who I think is going to feast in this, and I think he's probably going to have, because Frank Reich's calling plays again, look for 10 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown from Adam Thielen. I think that could definitely happen. I don't have to have this team win for me to get this pick right. I would love to see Carolina win so the Crusher can be happy with going and seeing his team win. This might be one to get wrong, but I'm willing to pick this for the Crusher. I'm taking Carolina plus 3.5.
Go ahead, Corey.
The 3.5 kind of scared me, but this is the final call for Tractor Cito. If he's ever gonna if he's done, this will be the game that proves that he's done. In theory, Derrick Henry. So our boy Will Levis, this is also a get right game for him. If you're ever gonna come out and look, I need to be the starter. This is the game.
Yeah.
I do think at this point, Vrabel I think Vrabel already knows he's the next coach of the New England Patriots. So we'll see how all that shakes up. But minus 3.5 is scary, but I still am going to take Tennessee at Nashville, and I'm not happy about it. Titans.
Fellas, so you got Tennessee minus 3.5.
Yeah.
I was watching Quad Box last week at 1 o'clock, watching the Bears game, watching the Titans game. I don't even remember the other 2 games I had on, but the Titans had like 23 passing yards at halftime. I love Will Levis. I want him to succeed. He was my second favorite quarterback in the draft. However, he's not looking great. But the Bears ran all over Carolina. They won that game with a D2 quarterback in his second start, I think, something like that. Brand new quarterback. So I think Tennessee runs really well. I think the under is in play in this game, but I think Carolina covers this 3.5-point spread. I think it's a close game down in Nashville. Kyle, I think it's a fun game to take your son to. From what I understand, I've never been there, but I do believe the Titans fans are pretty welcoming. I don't think
they are.
Yeah. Here's my thing. I'm protected. I'm taking a 9-year-old with me. Now, if this was Philadelphia, it'd be a different story. But when you have a 9-year-old with you, people don't mess with you. They leave you alone. They know that you're there letting your kid have a good experience. So they're like, hey, this guy's cool. But the 2 adults next to you, the guys that came wearing their Panther stuff, they're going to get a hard time. But because I got the Crusher with me and he's young, they want to see – a lot of people want to see the little kids have good experiences, and I love that.
Real quick. All right, we're almost 3/4 of the way through the season, regular season, unfortunately. Where are we at on Bryce Young?
I don't think that you can confidently rate any quarterback halfway through their first season.
Or more than half, but yeah. I'm curious because I see places where he's getting slammed. Look, I think he's too small, but they need to build. Like I hear people calling for Frank Reich's head already. Like, calm down. Like, let's build something here. I mean, I picked him to win the division. That was clearly stupid, but like with Adam Thielen there helping him, like give him some time. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy how much they're bashing him. Bryce Young was not my favorite by far in this draft.
Yeah.
But it's not like he's some pushover or anything.
Right.
He's not DeMarcus Russell
Yeah.
or anything like that. Let's give him some time.
Yeah, he did a lot at Alabama with a bunch of stars around him. I was worried about the size. I thought he'd be hurt by this point in the season. If I'm
You
completely
could argue
honest.
his team in Alabama was better than the one he has in Carolina.
The offensive line that's in front of him in Carolina is definitely not as good
Yeah.
as the one that was in front of him in Alabama. And I think that's the biggest issue with this team, and it all starts up front. If you don't have protection, it doesn't matter if you've got Joe Montana, Dan Marino, or Tom Brady standing back there slinging it. It's completely irrelevant. So to try and say yay or nay on Bryce Young at this point in his career is impossible. I think they need to build that O line. There are some good left tackles coming out in this draft. However, the Bears got their number one pick, so it might be tough sledding for Bryce down there in Carolina. But
I think it's going to be hard for them. I mean, this Carolina Panthers team is not going to be competitive next year, not without a first round pick. My question is, take Tua, put him in Carolina, and take Bryce Young and put him down in Miami. And is there noticeable changes on those offenses, do you think?
I think Tua is better than Bryce Young.
I would say, that Tua
will be. I mean, just period.
Tua's also had more years in the NFL so far too, but he gets the ball out so quick that he doesn't have to be a great quarterback. He's got a lot of weapons surrounding him, a lot of weapons around Tua. But I think that if you put Bryce Young in a situation like that, where if you take a rookie quarterback and you put them with a team, a top rookie quarterback who got drafted near the top, and you put them with a team that made the playoffs last year or were a good team the previous year. I mean, look at their transition in Kansas City from Alex Smith to Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
That Kansas City team was a good team when they drafted Patrick Mahomes. Not to say that Patrick Mahomes is a nobody, because he's not, but look at the transition. They let him sit for a year and he out the gates running because he had a good team around him.
Mm-hmm.
Bryce Young, sorry, Carolina, but they had I don't think they did the best job of putting a good team around him. And I don't think that it was easy to put a good team around him either, because a lot of vets probably look at Carolina and say, I don't think I want to go there.
Right.
So
I do worry about, because there were rumors swirling that Frank Reich liked CJ Stroud better than Bryce Young, and the owner stepped in and said, we're taking Bryce Young because I like him more. Every time you have an owner that meddles into the business or into the football side and stays and doesn't meddle into the business side as much, you end up with train wrecks. And that would worry me going forward, to hinder Bryce Young's development as a quarterback in this league. You just can't do it. I mean, they talk about it with the Bears all the time. They're always like, the McCaskey's got the hands in it. And it's never been proven, but it's been slightly whispered, and maybe a little bit more than whispered, about the one in Carolina, and that's going to be a struggle. And if something gets Frank Reich fired, it's a brand new owner making a quick decision.
It can't be this year, though. It just can't. That's insane.
With that owner, man, you never know.
I don't think so, because I don't think Dave Tepper came in. I mean, Dave Tepper was already there when Frank Reich came in. So I don't think they pulled the trigger that fast on Reich. I think that they need to understand that, this is not a great team down in Carolina. I think Frank Reich gets at least one more year.
Yeah.
And then I think he's fighting for his life if he sticks around from there. Because, I mean, I don't know, unless there's a hot shot young offense, or, unless there's some hot shot coming up. And I don't know who Houston's offensive coordinator is.
Ben Johnson.
Dude,
I mean,
yeah, sorry, Ben Johnson. He might be a head coach next year.
He turned
D'Amico Ryans
Turned
ain't calling
Tone
plays
down
down
last
there.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ben Johnson's a hot name out of Detroit. I'm hearing Bears fans talking about him already too. But we'll move on. Kyle, you talked about traveling into Philadelphia. The Buffalo Bills have to do just that. They travel into Philadelphia this weekend at 425. The Philadelphia Eagles are 3.5-point home favorites. The over-under is 48.5. The money line for Buffalo is plus 145. For Philly is minus 175. I'm going to go first before you guys talk me out of it. I'm taking Philly. I'm riding Philly. I think I think Josh Allen makes a couple of crucial mistakes, and Philadelphia covers this spread. I don't know by how much. The hook scares me. The 3 and a hook does kind of scare me, but I believe in Philadelphia, and I think home field advantage at Philly is a real thing. Now they can't take advantage of the cold because Buffalo's used to it, but yeah, just give me Philly 3.5. Kyle, give me some nuggets, man.
You want the Nuggets? I'm going to deliver. It's called DoorDash over here.
Hey,
Um,
no free ads.
Philadelphia. I thought they were going to win that game against Kansas City. If we look at Philadelphia's schedule, we know that they're 9-1 to 8-1 on the season, something like that. Starting with Kansas City. Starting with the Cowboys before they're bad. The Eagles had the Cowboys, the Chiefs, the Bills, the 49ers, the Cowboys, the Seahawks.
Oof.
Now, if you can get the Seahawks fully healthy and get the Seahawks of the early season, that's a gauntlet that the Eagles have to run. And I think that the Eagles come out of that gauntlet with 2 more losses. I don't see them winning every single game in that gauntlet. I think that they're going to continue to not get beat down, but their team's going to get worn down playing these top tier teams week after week after week. Very, very physical teams. If we look at statistic wise, I mean, on paper, I would argue that these offenses are very much alike. Both of them top 12 offenses in the league. Buffalo's a better pass offense, while Philadelphia has a higher ranking in rushing. Defensively, I would say Buffalo has a better defense. Philadelphia's passing yards per game, they're ranked 28th. Total yards per game, they're 14th, and points per game, they're 16th. Buffalo passing yards per game is 10th. Total yards per game is 10th. Points per game is 4th. Buffalo has a turnover differential of 0. Philadelphia has a turnover differential of 1. I say it a lot. I say it often. Buffalo does not have to win this game for me to get this pick right. Now, I think Buffalo has a chance to win this game, especially the way they played against New York. And I think that if Josh Allen comes out and plays like Josh Allen when he played for Brian Daboll, they have a really good chance at this. I think this is a field goal game no matter how you slice it, whether it's Buffalo winning by a field goal or Philadelphia winning by a field goal. But I like Buffalo. That 0.5 gets me over the hump. So give me Buffalo for 3.5.
What do you got, Corey?
Same for me on that. Buffalo, that 3.5 is just, it's there. Also, Buffalo does this weird shit to where every time they have these weird losses and stuff, they just mess around and then do some badass win out of nowhere and just crush. And you're like, oh, wait, Buffalo is good. And then you go back to believing him, like I'm going to. I still think Buffalo's good. I know they got a diva wide receiver, and Josh Allen just loves to just chuck it and fuck it like he just does. But I think, like you said,
this is a family show, Corey. Jesus,
my bad.
Come on, Corey. This is a family-friendly show.
My bad. Philly, this gauntlet is just too much. This is like their Washington game last year, where they were just like going through everything, and oh wait, Washington came up and they lost. Well, now it's Buffalo instead. So, the 3.5 is what got me, but I think Buffalo has a serious chance to just outright win this game.
Yeah, that 0.5 point had me thinking twice about it, but man, Philly's done me right so far this year. We'll see if that continues this week. We'll go into our final game of the 6-pack challenge. Monday Night Football, the Chicago Bears traveling Chicago Bears traveling up to Minnesota. Minnesota is a 3.5-point home favorite. The over-under is 43. The money line for Chicago was plus 140. For Minnesota is minus 166. I'm going to go on a bit of a rant here. The Chicago Bears are awful. I told you guys I didn't like Matt Eberflus, and he showed his true colors last week when the Bears, when it was 4th and inches, and we kicked a field goal instead of going for it and killing more clock and doing all those things that you do to win. I looked at my wife and I said, "We're going to lose this ball game." She was like, "What are you talking about? We're up multiple, 2 scores." And I was like, I just know it. I just feel it. And Detroit turned around from there and scored 2 touchdowns and walked it off and did all of those things. Also, in the I believe in the entire history of the NFL, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe since 1970 or so, in a football game where the team has 40 minutes of time of possession and a +3 or more on the turnover, those teams were 48-0. Matt Eberflus, you made history. Made history, the first team with those statistics to lose the ball game. Way to go, Matt. You can grab your OC on the way out. Hang up your freaking jacket. I'm done with this team. Minnesota wins this game, -3.5. Josh Dobbs gets dubs and sends Eberflus out of Chicago. They might wait until the bye, but I'm done with him, and I don't care. Let me get the special teams coordinator to finish the season out as the head coach. And that's another indictment on Eberflus is he didn't put together a staff conducive of having another head coach in line behind him. The guy that maybe could have is mysteriously resigned, and I don't know. I'm done with this team. Minnesota -3.5. I'm still a Bears fan, but you got to go Eberflus. Kyle, do you have any nuggets, or did I just take them all?
I don't know. I'm sick of you guys this week.
First of all, it's Bob Dobbs, Aaron. Okay.
For you to pick against the Bears, Aaron, and for Corey to pick against the Texans, I'm trying to remember. I think there was a week I picked against the Packers. I think that there was. I don't really. God, you got to pick with your heart sometimes. I mean,
I've picked with my heart several times with Chicago, and they've let me down.
That's what I did with the Titans, and you both picked the Panthers, and I feel gross about that.
I picked with my heart on that one, Corey. I'm telling you that right now. I picked with my heart. Before we do this, I write down who I want to take. That way, I can't change my mind. I don't let you guys talk me into anything. I stick with what I wanted to go with. Chicago looked good last week. I didn't watch any of that game. Going back and seeing them up against Detroit, and I was like, "Whoa!" Hanging with Detroit, the top dog in the NFC North. I just looked at the stats from last week, and Justin Fields rushed for 100 yards, which he's done. I mean, he always runs over Detroit. I think he had an 80-yard touchdown run or something like that last year against Detroit, late in the season where they beat them, and it was a real close game. But they hung with Detroit. The Chicago is not a terrible team. They need to get a few pieces, and they need to continue to lose this year to be set up in the draft with 2 top picks. Go get you a wide receiver in Marvin Harrison, and go get you an offensive lineman, and stick with Justin Fields and give him a chance. Don't move on from him already. He's just now getting to show what he can do. Chicago sucks. They they don't really. I mean, rushing yards per game, they're 4th in the league at rushing yards per game, and a lot of that has to do with their 3-headed committee at running back and their 4th running back, who's the quarterback, in Justin Fields. Really, Fields is the RB1. Passing yards per game, not great. They're at 25th, but that's going to happen when you have a D2 quarterback starting, for a few games this season too. They score about 21 points a game. They've given the ball away 19 times, but so have the Minnesota Vikings. Defensively, they have a great run defense. They are 2nd in the league against the run, and that's about it defensively. Other than that, none of their stats are really great. I would say that Minnesota is a top 16 offense, top half of the league, or it's defense, sorry. Top half of the league in defense. They also are great against the run, mediocre against the pass. Let's take a look at Minnesota's offense. Minnesota cannot really run the ball. They sit at 28th on the season with 93 yards per game rushing. They cut Dalvin Cook before the beginning of the season and said, hey, we're good with what we have, when really you should have been good with Dalvin Cook because he's just being wasted away in New York. 10th total yards per game, 11th in points per game, but also they've given the ball away 19 times. However, they sit at 3rd in the league in passing yards per game. You have Miami Dolphins, Houston Texans, and the Minnesota Vikings. I wouldn't have told you that the Texans and Vikings would have been top of the league in passing, even if we had Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson, and they don't. Damn it. Robert Joshua Dobbs. They should have won that game against Denver last week. They really should.
It was heartbreaking.
Very heartbreaking. Give me Minnesota minus 3.5. The stats from the Pasternaut are going to be 300 plus yards passing and 3 passing touchdowns.
Yeah. Well,
look at
the Bears. I know you just talked about their passing defense. They picked off Jared Goff 3 times, and Jalen Johnson, who calls himself the best corner in the league, when he was trying to get his contract extension, had a pick 6 bounce right off his hands. That he would have. I mean, the only guy he had to beat was Goff, and Goff wasn't going to catch him. So it's they looked okay last week for 3 quarters, 3.5 quarters, and then all of a sudden they're just like, oh, that Jameson Williams guy, yeah, we're not worried about him. Wide open touchdown. Corey, tell me about this game, brother.
I want a yes or no answer from you, Aaron. Justin Fields is your quarterback for the future.
He's my quarterback.
Okay. Yeah, it's your management that's trash. That's it. Your coaches are just trash. Your football team, even though they need some players, your football team is nowhere near the worst football team in the league.
I saw a tweet today. I think Albert Breer put it out that there's rumblings at Hallis Hall that they will clean house because Ryan Poles, every chance he gets, he's singing Eberflus's praises no matter how bad he looks on Sundays. So there's rumblings that Kevin Warren, the new president that was hired this year in Chicago, will fire both of them and bring in his vision for the future. So fingers crossed. I wanted Poles to stay, but man, if you're going to stick with Eberflus, your biggest mistake that you've made, and there are some bad ones. I mean, you traded for Chase Claypool on there, but Eberflus is your worst decision, and you're sticking by him, then you both got to go. Go ahead, Corey.
That was a hell of a yes or no answer.
Yeah.
Minnesota, it was heartbreaking to see that to Bob Dobbs, and I'm really rooting for them. I know my buddy in Ohio is as well. I actually thought this would be a little bit more. I thought Minnesota would be like -5 or something like that. I know they can't really run. We don't know who's actually running. Is Mattinson fine now? Who knows? Ty Chandler was okay, but they're not running like they used to with Dalvin Cook and some change. Justin Jefferson will not play again this year. He's being kind of a little diva. And
he's able to come back this week.
Oh, he's been able to come back, I think, for a while. He's just not going to play, I think. Unless they are in firm playoff contention, he is not coming back. And that's kind of shitty on him. But that being said, I think Bob Dobbs and Minnesota win this game. The -3.5, I think they win by a full-blown touchdown. You know, it's at Minnesota, so I'm taking the Vikings.
Yeah.
They're just a better team, period.
Yeah, and it's tough to win up there. It's really loud. They dealt with loud pretty bad last week when our starting center, Lucas Patrick, got blindsided blocked. Go ahead, Kyle. You look like you want
to. I have a very, very hot take. Very hot take. I just did a bunch of research on Kevin Warren. And when I say a bunch, I mean Wikipedia. The head coach next year of the Chicago Bears. You ready for this? And he's going to have a special advisor.
I think I know where you're going.
The head coach next year of the Chicago Bears is going to be one Clint Kubiak, and his special advisor will be his dad. Yep. I think that the Kubiaks will be coming to Chicago.
What makes you think that?
Well, because Kevin Warren was a executive with the Minnesota Vikings. His last season was in 2019, where Clint and Gary Kubiak were both on that roster. Generally, if somebody's going to be bringing in new people, they're going to bring in people that they know, that they work with, that they probably like. I don't know if they like each other. Wikipedia didn't tell me that, but Gary Kubiak is a Super Bowl winning head coach, and Clint Kubiak is the passing game coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. Whether you want to do Clint Kubiak as the head coach or Gary Kubiak as the head coach, I don't know if Gary Kubiak's health can sustain a season as the head coach, but you put Clint Kubiak in as head coach, and you're getting Gary Kubiak as the head coach too.
For me, I like Gary Kubiak, but like we could have coached that team to the Super Bowl. First of all,
well, yeah, sure.
Second of all, it's odd. There's no way it's not Harbaugh. I don't know how it's not Harbaugh at Chicago this year.
Corey, you're lighting my path because Kyle, did Wikipedia tell you that Kevin Warren, after leaving Minnesota, went on to be the Big Ten president? And who is
I didn't read that. I stopped reading it 2019 and saw there was a gap. I didn't know where he went.
Yikes.
I didn't know where he went.
The internet never lies, though. It never lies.
Who is the head coach that's leaving the Big Ten because he's stealing signs and all that stuff? I just think it all lines up for Harbaugh to be in Chicago.
Especially if he wins the championship.
Is that what you want, though? You want
yes.
a coach covered in controversy to come and coach your
I want a coach. I want a coach
Bill Belichick right now in a heartbeat.
I want a coach that won at Stanford. I want a coach that went to the San Francisco 49ers and turned them from a 4-win franchise to a playoff team. I want a head coach that's going to come in there and not take any crap, not be a yes man. I'm sick and tired of yes men in Chicago. This is a franchise that turned down Bruce Arians and brought in Mark Trestman because they thought they were smarter than everybody else, and Mark Trestman would do what they said. We need change in Chicago, and I think Jim Harbaugh is just the guy to change everything around, and he is a staff builder. If there's one thing that Jim Harbaugh does, he will put together a winning staff in Chicago to not only propel us forward during his regime, but future regimes after that for however long it lasts. And that's my answer. And if he's not the guy, give me Bobby Slowick out of Houston. And I know he's only been a play caller for 1 year, but I'm loving the work he's doing with C.J. Stroud. And he comes from the Shanahan tree in San Francisco that I love, where he was a defensive assistant, so he knows both sides of the ball. And I know this isn't a Bears podcast, but that's my 1 and 2 on my personal list. And Ben Johnson, sure. If
I was just say, I doubt that the cross in the same division. But
right.
Would you be fine with Ben Johnson?
I would be fine with
because I think
I watched Ben Johnson do things at the end of that game when they were down 12, and he's still running the ball, and he's still got players playing power football. The O-line coming out, and Detroit gets a lot of love for their offensive line, but they deal with a lot of injuries, and no one talks about it, and they still produce under him. So I'd be happy with either of those 3 names. But I guess we got to get out of here, fellas, and we'll come back next week and wrap all this up, and hopefully I can make a comeback. So for until next week, like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Subscribe to Daily Football Roundup on YouTube, where we go live every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We are on Spotify. We are on Podbean if you listen via podcast. We'll just I am so lost right now. Like, comment, subscribe, DFR. Follow us on TikTok. Kyle's finally getting on TikTok and putting out some videos. He put out some solid videos last week of all our picks, and I'm sure he'll get to work on that as soon as we get off of this tonight. So he'll have some clips to cut up, and I appreciate all your hard work. And until next week, Kyle or Corey, tell them.
Bye.
Happy.